The rain pelted against the window of the small, dimly lit room where Aisha sat clutching her younger sister's old dress. Her hands trembled as she pulled it over her thin frame, knowing she didn't belong in the glittering world she was about to step into. Her heart raced. Not because she wanted to meet the wealthy CEO her sister had agreed to date, but because tonight, out of desperation and sacrifice, she was going in her sister's place. She thought she'd be humiliated, laughed at, or turned away. What she never expected was kindness. The kind of kindness that could change the course of her entire life. Aisha had never known luxury. Born into poverty, her mother had worked endless hours as a cleaner, while her father abandoned the family when she was only 6. Life had been a constant struggle, and now at 21, she worked long shifts at a diner, her hands blistered from washing dishes and serving tables. Her elder sister, Zara, was the opposite of her, confident, beautiful, and accustomed to attention. When Zara received an invitation to a blind date with a man rumored to be a wealthy single dad CEO, she dismissed it as unworthy of her time, as probably old, controlling, and boring. Zara scoffed. "I don't waste my time on men like that." But Aisha overheard a detail Zara had not noticed. This date came with potential opportunities. If Zara impressed him, it could open doors for connections and stability. And though Zara refused, Aisha thought of their mother's unpaid medical bills, the rent looming over their heads, and the fear of being thrown out into the streets. That's when the unthinkable thought struck her. She would go in Zara's place. She stood before the mirror in Zara's faded dress, her hair tied back simply, her eyes betraying both fear and determination. When she entered the upscale restaurant, she felt every pair of eyes burn into her. She didn't belong there. The chandeliers gleamed above her, the air smelled of roses and expensive wine, and the polished floor felt foreign beneath her cheap shoes. At a corner table, she spotted him. He wasn't old, as Zara had imagined. Instead, he was young, perhaps in his early 30s. His suit perfectly tailored, his expression calm but distant. His name was Zayn Malik, the CEO of a successful tech company, and father to a little girl named Alina. When he looked up and saw her, his eyes softened in curiosity. Aisha braced herself for mockery, but instead, he offered a gentle smile. "You must be Zara," he said warmly. Her throat went dry. She nodded, guilt pricking her heart. But before she could explain, a little girl ran toward the table. Alina, about 6 years old, jumped into Zayn's arms, giggling. "Daddy, is this the special guest?" she asked with innocence. Aisha's heart melted. The child's wide eyes studied her, as though searching for kindness in her face. "She looks nice," Alina whispered loudly, making Aisha blush. The dinner began awkwardly, but something unexpected unfolded. Instead of being interrogated or judged, Aisha found herself listened to. Zayn didn't dominate the conversation. He asked her about her life, her dreams, and the things she cared about. And though she lied about being Zara, her honesty slipped out in subtle ways. She spoke about struggle, about how hard it was to work for every scrap of dignity, about how sometimes people just needed one chance to prove themselves. Zayn noticed. He saw that her hands were calloused, her dress wasn't designer, and her words carried weight no privileged woman would ever speak with such raw sincerity. Yet he didn't call her out. Instead, he leaned closer, as though this girl, the wrong girl, was exactly the one he had been meant to meet all along. By the end of the night, Aisha had forgotten her fear. She laughed with Alina, who clung to her as if she'd known her forever, and when Zayn walked her out into the rain, he handed her his umbrella before stepping into the storm himself. It was a simple gesture, but to Aisha, who had been given so little in life, it was everything. That night, she realized, kindness didn't always roar, sometimes it spoke in whispers, in small, unexpected acts that left an imprint on the soul. The next weeks unfolded like a dream. Zayn invited Aisha to join him and Alina for small outings, visits to the park, family dinners, even a school event where Alina proudly introduced her as Daddy's friend. Each moment chipped away at Aisha's fears, but also deepened her guilt. She was living a lie. She wasn't Zara, the confident sister who belonged in this world. She was just Aisha, the poor girl who had dared to step into a life not meant for her. One evening, unable to bear it anymore, she confessed. Sitting across from Zayn, her voice shook. "I'm not who you think I am. My sister was supposed to come that night. I went in her place." She expected anger, disgust, maybe even rejection. But Zion simply looked at her for a long moment, then sighed. I knew, he admitted softly. Her eyes widened. You knew. I knew the moment you spoke, he said. Your honesty gave you away. Zara might have been the name on the invitation, but it was you, your kindness, your courage, that mattered. Tears welled in her eyes. For the first time, someone had seen her not as a burden, not as a mistake, but as enough. But the true test of kindness came a few days later. Aisha's mother's condition worsened, and the hospital demanded payment they couldn't afford. Aisha broke down, confessing to Zion that they might lose her mother. She expected him to distance himself, to remind her that they came from different worlds. Instead, he quietly paid the bills, without boasting, without conditions. When Aisha asked him why, he simply said, because when people matter to you, you don't measure what they cost. You give what you can. That act changed everything. Not just for Aisha, but for her sister too. Seeing how Zion's kindness had transformed their family, Zara, who once mocked love and responsibility, began to change. She took a steady job, helped at home, and for the first time, stood beside Aisha with genuine gratitude. In time, Zion's relationship with Aisha deepened into love, not the love of wealth and status, but the love built on shared humanity, compassion, and trust. Alina, once shy and guarded, blossomed in Aisha's care. And Aisha, once the poor girl who thought she had nothing, discovered she had been carrying the greatest gift all along, the ability to give and receive kindness. Years later, when someone asked her how her life changed, Aisha would smile and say, it began with an umbrella in the rain, and the choice to believe that kindness can rewrite destiny. Moral of the story: true kindness doesn't see status or wealth. It sees the human heart, and in touching one life, it has the power to transform many.